What's up, everybody? Welcome into Sweet Tea in the SEC. I'm Chris, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host, Adam. Before we get into today's show, make sure you hit the subscribe button right here on YouTube, right there under me, at College Sports Crew on YouTube. Let me say that again, at College Sports Crew. That's so you don't miss any of the SEC breakdowns, the reactions, playoff coverage, all that we do here. And be sure to follow us on X at College Crew, which is directly under me, for instant takes, polls, updates all season long on Sweet Tea and the SEC. We talk nothing but SEC football from the transfer portal all the way to bowl season and to the college football playoff. So grab your sweet tea, lock in, and let's talk some SEC football. How you doing, Adam? It feels like it's been forever.
Hey, what's going on, man? It's been, I guess, 2 weeks now because we didn't have a show last week. So we've had 2 weeks since we've been on here talking SEC, drinking some sweet tea.
Yeah, man. I missed you, brother. I've missed you.
Did you have good holidays?
Yeah, it was pretty good, man. Christmas was really good. I love this time of the year, man. This is my favorite time of the year. I love it so much. But yeah, I love it so much. Let me make an announcement on TikTok now that we got a couple of people in. If you're asking questions, please come back around 9 o'clock. It'll be a TikTok exclusive Q&A. We'll do a show on TikTok only. If you're watching now, we are doing a show on YouTube, Sweet Tea in the SEC. So just listen in. Me and Adam's going to talk a lot of stuff on the SEC and college football player transfer portal, everything else. So, all right, man, let's jump right into it, man. I know me and you both are not a fan of the portal, but we got to do some SEC portal updates. Cam Coleman, Auburn, enter the portal. So did Deuce Knight. Seems like the whole Auburn squad, man. Adam is entering the portal right now. I want to know. I know you don't pay much attention to it, but I've seen a lot of Auburn fans. I've seen some already wanting to fire Alex Golish, which is kind of crazy. Should Auburn be concerned with how many people are dipping out right now, or is this just a normal coaching transition?
I think this is becoming the new normal. I don't think there's anything to be concerned about. I think this is the new normal. I think we're going to see this at a lot of places. And Auburn's just one of the many that this is happening to.
Yeah, I agree, man. I just look, it's gonna happen. It's just that's just what happens, dude. That's what happens when it's portal time and when you have especially when you have a new coach coming in. That's just how it goes. I know Cam Coleman's a huge loss, but I think you got to be. I wouldn't say. I mean, it always hurts to lose a guy like that, right? You hate that, but I do think that the kind of offense that Golish runs, I think wide receiver play is going to be okay. I think that veer and shoot's proven time and time again it's going to work.
I also feel like just like these players when they're on the recruiting trail, some of them get caught up in the money, but they're not going to be happy no matter how much money they're getting if they don't go somewhere that is the right fit. And by that, the right fit for personalities, the right fit for the offense or defense that is ran, the right fit that makes them happy in the distance they are from their family, where they grew up, the friends from back home, all of that. And until you see or until you get that right fit, you're going to keep moving. I think that's part of the reason why we see so many people transfer. They chase that money, they get somewhere, get a big check, and they realize, this isn't right for me, because they made their decision solely on dollar signs instead of what's going to make them happy.
Yeah, I will say, because somebody asked in our chat on TikTok, anything new on Cam? I will say, and I know people are going to roll their eyes at this. Look, all I'm doing is repeating what's been reported. I'm not going to convince you if you think otherwise. I know some people. I will say that I don't think the Cam thing's about money. I think what's been reported so far by Auburn people, Auburn offered him $2 million. I think from everything that's been reported again this is more so he wants to go somewhere where there's a legit quarterback. He wants to go at a championship contending team. And that's going to best. He doesn't want to start on a rebuild. He doesn't want to start all over. And I don't necessarily blame the kid. And if it's true that Auburn offered him $2 million, I really don't see anybody going. Texas maybe going any higher than that. Maybe you'll see something crazy, but I do think this is a legit decision being made about development, about quarterback, about fit. And somebody asked in the chat, where is he leaning? From every report, again, it's early. It sounds like Texas A&M is involved very heavily. If anybody remembers, he was committed at one time to Texas A&M. So could go back there, and you got to never discount the oil money. Never discount that oil money. Now, I will say, I'm going to throw something out there. I do not pretend to be an insider. I do get info from time to time. I have heard that UGA is going to be in on this a little bit more than people think. I don't personally think he'll land there, but I'd watch out for UGA too in there. But I think right now I would lean towards the Aggies where he's headed. That would make that Aggies wide receiver room nasty for next year, Adam.
Yeah, it would. That's going to be a deep wide receiver room up there with Ohio State's and a few others. And my comments about the transfer portal weren't at him specifically. It was just the transfer portal in general.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't blame him either. Going to a contender, and me 20 years ago, I mean, I wouldn't get any money anyway because I was a walk-on. But if I was going to go somewhere, the first thing I would be was, how good is the team? Do I fit into the offense or defense, depending on what position I play? Because I don't blame someone not wanting to go through a rebuild. And Auburn had a pretty disappointing year this past year, I think, for what people expected going into the season. So I'm not surprised at all by this move, not surprised by the teams that the insiders and the experts have near the top of his list or his anticipated schools, however you want to word it, because those are teams that A&M was in the playoff this year, Texas Tech's in the playoff, Texas was close. They're just on the outside looking in. Georgia's in. And, you know, those are the teams right now that are supposedly at the top. And Lane Kiffin works the transfer portal very well. Maybe he ends up at LSU. It is a little bit of a rebuild right now, but depending on what they keep and lose, you know, they kept Blake Baker. That defense was pretty stout this past year, so he might end up there as well. You know, you never know when Lane Kiffin gets involved, and he's not giving Lamborghinis like Texas, but he's doing something right in the portal for what he gets.
Yeah, and that's a great transition. LSU quarterback, they're all in on the quarterback on the transfer portal right now. I thought that's somewhere that DJ Lagway was going to be headed. I've read some reports right before we came on air, but it actually looks like the leading candidate that Lane and them's all into, and I love it, is Sam Leavitt from Arizona State, which I think he would do phenomenal in that system. Honestly, Lane's system's really, I like to call it's quarterback proof. Like, it just doesn't matter. At this point, you could put me or Adam back there, and we're going to produce some numbers in that system, the way it's designed, the way it's set up. I think if they can get Leavitt before Coleman makes a decision, watch out, because that could be something he thinks about. And I know we hate talking about people's agents. I know we hate talking about stuff like that in college sports. I would like to throw out there before we move on, Cam Coleman's agent is George Pickens' agent. So I'll be just watch out for that. All right. Yeah. And then, like we said, Deuce Knight entered the portal. Don't know anything where he's headed, but it does sound like I can't remember his last name now, but Bryce, the USF quarterback, is going to head to Auburn, which I think would be massive for Golish to get his quarterback from USF and kind of run it back with him at Auburn. I think that would be phenomenal.
Yeah, I don't know enough about that one to really comment a bunch, but I don't think that's a bad move for his stance.
Yeah. Shoot, missed some comments. I can't lie. Cam Coleman to UGA is your next AJ Green. I would agree with Athletes Forum podcast. Also, hey,
if he goes there.
Yeah, if he goes there. But our man, Athletes Forum podcast, a part of the family now. Our boy Austin, under that logic, does Texas A&M seem like the right move for him, being their quarterback struggles this year? That's true. That is a good point. I wonder if he'll see it that way, though. I mean, Marcel Reed had a nice.
I don't think Texas's struggles. No, Arch did not have the season anybody expected. Yeah. Well, I think some people probably expected it if he couldn't beat out Ewers. But a lot of that I don't think was on Arch's shoulders. I think that was not putting tools around him. They had a bunch of injuries early at running back. Offensive line didn't give him much help. He didn't get much rushing game, and it's if Texas returns a lot and can bolster up what they have, because the defense wasn't bad, I think they'll be all right.
Yeah, I think so too. I do too.
And I think Arch will be all right. I think Arch this coming season, obviously, it more depends on, but I think he could be a very Will Howard at Ohio State last year type of quarterback this next year, of doing a lot of the right things, not losing a game, and then making a few plays here and there when needed, but don't rely on him to win the game all the time. I think that's the type of quarterback he is.
I agree 100% with you on Arch. I've preached it. Sorry, I just got a text from our buddy Austin. I can't read it out loud. I'll read it to you after the show. But yeah, we got another question. Do you think Ole Miss quarterback will be able to play? Hey, Grant, appreciate you, man. He come from TikTok, and that guy is a big supporter. Do you think Ole Miss quarterback will be able to play? Yeah, he's fighting for a waiver right now, Adam. I haven't heard anything. I don't know if you have. I don't know. Probably. I mean, the way the NCAA. I'm sure he'll sue and they'll figure it out.
It's going to end up being like Diego Pavia, where there's some sort of injunction and a decision isn't made in time, or he gets denied, and I think he's just going to move on.
Mm-hmm.
It depends on how much he wants to fight it, because I think he will. No insider information. I think he'll get denied. How much time and effort does he want to put into? How much legal fees does he want to spend to try to get it taken care of? And because the rule hasn't been changed yet, Pavia just was able to play because some court put an injunction on Pavia's ruling. So I think it's going to come out that it's going to rule against that. And in all honesty, I love watching him play. Chambliss is a great player, very talented. We got to get out of granting these extra years. Everybody should be gone that's had their COVID year. Everybody, let's get back to 5 years to play 4 and be done with it, because the high school students, the high school seniors are being hurt. Nobody wants to recruit the high school seniors anymore outside of your top 75, 100 that are going to be immediate impact players, because they're too busy trying to get this transfer portal, these players out of the portal, and this jump around, change your team every year. And I feel bad. I'm very glad I'm not going through the recruiting process right now as a high school senior, when you might sign your letter of intent and then 3 months later you have 6 guys on the team that play your position that weren't there when you signed your letter of intent because they all came through the portal. Yeah. I hate how it impacts. I don't mind the portal that much. I hate how it impacts the high school senior, and I also really dislike why we have 7th, 8th, 9th year guys playing. I'm good with a medical red shirt and a regular red shirt. Okay, now you have 6 years to play for.
Yeah, like athlete said, man, preach, Adam, preach. Clip that. That is getting clipped. Our guy Adam coming in with a fire. Real quick, just to remind people on TikTok before we go to the next segment. Listen, TikTok. I know usually we do Q&A on my TikTok lives, but right now we're doing a YouTube show. If you want to ask questions on YouTube show, go to at College Sports Crew on YouTube. Hit us in the comment section. TikTok, we will go back live at 9 o'clock. Just me to do a TikTok exclusive show. So if you want to come back at 9. And ask a bunch of questions, we'll get to that. All right, SEC in the bowl games. Let's get to that. Let's see. In your opinion, what is worse? Oh, that's a good question. What is worse, the portal or NIL? I'll go portal all day.
I'm gonna say portal too. I think they both have their areas I agree with. They both have their areas I disagree with. I'm okay with players being able to leave. If a coach can leave whenever they want, but there's got to be something involved with it. I don't have the answers of what you do. Maybe you get one free move, and then after that, if your coach leaves, you get another free move. I have my areas I have issue with, but I also don't have the answers. So not a fair conversation, or it's not something I should be really complaining about too much, because if I don't have a way to solve it, then it's not fair for me to complain about. But I've always, even back in my playing days, I've said I don't care if players get paid to do for NIL purposes.
Yeah.
My issue with NIL is it's pay for play. Hey, I want to come there. How much are you going to give me? Well, that's not what NIL is. NIL should be how many autograph sessions you have, how many like jersey sales you have, that type of thing, not just I'm showing up, doing nothing extra and getting money. And that's obviously going to change here once I think it's just next year. It goes into it starts being in effect where the players do get the 19.5 million or 20.5 million, whatever it is, to all the universities get that much from TV rights, and then that's up to the university to split that out. So there is going to be some of that, and I don't even really have an issue with that. I just don't like the Dave Portnoy saying here's $20 million or whatever, he's $12 million, and they get a quarterback that was signed at LSU just because of that. And it's all people involved in recruiting at any sport. I've got a lot of people I know that coaches and staff on coaching staffs in different sports, the first thing they get called about, we're talking volleyball, baseball, football, in any sport, is will they get playing time and how much will they get paid? Like that part frustrates me with it, but I think the portal is worse.
Yeah, I would agree. All right, SEC bowl games. We're not going to dive deep in these. We're not recapping. We're not doing a full recap. Just a little small talk. Virginia 13, Missouri 7. Really disappointing finish for Missouri. I'm going to rant a little bit, and this will be a good segment because Adam knows, and I think anybody that's watched the show knows, I'm the SEC homer, full blown. SEC is the best. There's no reason to watch any other. I love the SEC. It's the greatest ever in my eyes. Adam's a little bit more fair, less hot takey as me, and but I will say I got very annoyed. It's real funny, this conversation with the SEC and bowl games. As soon as, first off, huge credit to Virginia. What an amazing season Tony Elliott had.
Great season.
Virginia, 11-win season in the ACC championship game. He was on the hot seat. You had that shooting on campus that killed some of his own players. Just like kudos to Tony Elliott. I could not be more happy for Tony Elliott in Virginia. But it's so funny to me, the narrative on Twitter, man. As soon as that game ended, here come the SEC haters. And I just trying to figure out what they want. Like because they just 2 weeks ago, they told me these games don't mean anything. We need to get rid of them. Start the bowl games at the beginning of the season. They're trash. When Alabama got in the playoffs and we tried to say, hey, they had a good win against Missouri. Missouri sucked. And then all of a sudden, Virginia, hell of a win against a great SEC team in Missouri. I just don't know which one they want.
I got a couple things for you, Chris.
There we go.
And that was Virginia's first double-digit win total since 1989. So great season for Virginia.
Yes.
But I got a couple things for you on that. So what is happening to the SEC on social media is exactly what SEC fans were doing 3, 4, 5 years ago when they were going 8-1 in bowl games, 7-2, 9-0, that type of crap. So they're getting it fed right back to them, and they don't really like it because for the first time ever in 15, maybe 20 years, the dominance of the SEC is starting to crack a little bit. The SEC is still the best conference, but it's starting to crack a little bit. They haven't won a national championship in 2 years.
I would agree.
And the Big Ten is closing that gap. So there's that. 2, since the opt-outs started, if you weren't in the BCS or 14 playoff, whenever the opt-outs really started, I want to say it was 10, 12 years ago, I still watch all the bowl games. I don't watch them as intently, but they're on my TV. I got the Illinois Tennessee game on right now in the background on mute. But bowl records don't really, like, you can't take anything away from that.
No, I hold on. I'm with you, Adam. I'm 100%.
So like, I never understood it when SEC fans were saying, look at our bowl record, we're the best. Now Big Ten fans are starting to say it, and you got a bunch of other conferences saying, oh, the SEC is not that. Like, you have so many opt-outs. You have so many people that are already not playing. You have an unusual amount of time off, and more so than ever, it's more of an exhibition than what it used to be. You know, back in the BCS days when only 2 teams were playing for national championship, you had your New Year's Six bowls. Those all still meant a lot. And then you had another top 8 bowls. Those all still meant a lot. And I don't want to take away, because there are still some bowls of 6-6 teams, 8-4 teams. Those bowls mean a lot to them because they are at their ceiling. And right now you have SEC teams and Big Ten teams and ACC teams that some of these bowl games don't mean a lot because they were hoping to make the playoff. And I honestly, I've been saying this all year, Chris. Missouri, look at Missouri's record. They kind of had a little Texas A&M on their schedule. You know, the teams that were ranked, they lost to. The teams that were unranked, they beat. So I think there's that too. I think Missouri was a little bit of fool's gold. I think you also had Missouri was, because of the 5 teams in the playoffs for the SEC, they were a little bit down on the record and strength for the SEC, playing against a team that played in the ACC championship game. And that's happened to the Big Ten before, when when Ohio State played in the national championship game and in the BCS days, and then Penn State and Michigan would both go play in the New Year's Six Bowl, and then you had the number 4 team playing against the number 2 team or in the SEC. 14. So it's all cynical. It all rotates through, and I've never been one. I've never been one that would understood why teams chant SEC when you're as a Kentucky fan, when you're an 8-4 team and win the Belk Bowl. Like, we beat a 7-5 Virginia Tech. Why? Like, what are we really jumping on the SEC bandwagon here when we weren't even a top tier team? That has never made sense to me. So just the whole bowl, and they shouldn't be. Don't get rid of them. It's great for the schools. They get an extra 2 or 3 weeks of practice. You get a chance to do a lot of things with the younger players that you wouldn't get to do. You get a chance to kind of see what's going to be there. And if you're going to enter the transfer portal and you didn't get much playing time, it gives you more time. If you play in the bowl game, because so many guys sit out, you get time on tape to be able to send out. There's a lot of benefits to it. So I'm not saying get rid of them, but they really aren't. The value of them for what they're worth as far as quality of a team has dropped a lot.
No, I'm with you.
That was a very long-winded response. I'm sorry about that.
No, that's fine. Hey, less work for me. I agree with everything you said. I just point out, I just think it's funny, the hypocriticalness of some people that get on Twitter and yell that.
But the SEC fans are being the hypocritical crybabies too.
Yeah. Yes. That is
because
fair.
they've been there and they've done that before.
Yes. Should the college football playoff expand the playoffs again? Should they stay at 12 or go back to 4? We don't even want to do this with me. We won't stay long on this. I think 12 is fine. If it was up to me, let me piss people off. I'll clip this too. If it was up to me, we'd go back to the BCS, but we're not going to debate that or anything like that. Adam, do you think it should stay at 12, go back to 4, expand more?
It's not going to go back. I would love to see it go to 8 because I want to see the regular season matter more. Yes. And when I say that, people go, well, look at all these games at the end of the year, these multiple teams. They could have, but they all were 2 lost teams. I want to – I don't have the right answer on this one because every argument I've made, I have a buddy that thinks it should be 24 teams in the FCS model. But you can't do that with the way the conferences are set up, these supersized conferences now. So – in all honesty, I wouldn't mind it being less, but it's not going to go to that. I don't want to see it get more. And I want to get rid of the committee completely and just do BCS. Do the computer standings, keep it at 12 since it's never going to go back, and you just use the computer rankings. And if they still want to have the committee, just release your final poll. You don't those polls before that, and that's where Notre Dame fans got upset. Those polls leading up to the final poll in the first Sunday in December meant absolutely nothing. They were not used or even considered when making that final poll, and
it is a TV product. That's it.
It is strictly for viewership and ad sales.
That's it. That is it. That is it. Yeah, and listen, I've warmed up to the idea of 16. I'm okay with 16. I will be okay if 16 happens. I think that's where it's going next. 24, I'm going to drive my truck straight off a bridge.
24 could be perfect if they would go back to the way the conferences were in the mid-90s, right after the new Big 12 formed, and you have all those, get every conference champion in with the MAC and the Big East and Conference USA, all of them, and then the rest of them at larges. But now you don't even have parity within conference schedules. Look at Texas A&M schedule versus Georgia. You can't even figure out who truly is the best team within conferences.
Yes, exactly. You just had a 5-loss. Also, I want to remind people of this. I said we wouldn't talk long on this, but here we go. I want to remind people of this. This is why your comments are also awesome. It gives us more content to talk about before we get to the other stuff. But I want to remind people of this, that are the overbloated conferences are more to blame than anything else, because if the ACC simply would have just had a better tiebreaker record where the 5-loss Duke Blue Devils were not in the conference championship game, and the 2-loss Miami team was, it would been none of this would have been a problem. I can't remember who, but I think Notre Dame would have been in if that didn't happen, and then we wouldn't. But anyway, whatever. All right, let's move on, because I can get on a tyrant, and if you ever been on my Twitter, you don't want that. So let's let's preview some college football playoff games. Indiana versus Alabama. Dude, I just said it. I'm an SEC homer, right? And I don't know if you'll be surprised by this, Adam. I've been doing a lot of TikTok. Well, not the TikTok part, but I've been doing a lot of TikTok lives this week since I'm off work for people on our TikToks. And I am getting a lot of hate from our SEC brothers and sisters about Indiana. And I'm kind of dumbfounded because, I had a man last night on TikTok say I am absolutely crazy for picking Indiana over Alabama. And I don't, that like a lot of SEC fans think they're still overrated. And I'm kind of mind blown as that. So as a SEC lover and a Big Ten hater, I just want to let people know, guys, Indiana's good. I would say great. They are great. I mean, to me, they have the two most impressive wins of the season, Oregon, Ohio State. They are third in points and points allowed per drive. This is a really great team, guys. Like, give credit to where it's due, man. I do think, though, Bama can win this game. And I'm not picking it. I'd already told you. I'm picking Indiana. But here's how I do see Alabama winning if they do win, is the defense. I think Kane Warmack has to have I think he has to be the MVP after this game. I think he has to call the game of his life. If he can stop the run, Indiana's run game, which they are really good. They are 10th in rushing success rate allowed. If they can slow down Indiana's run game, and if they can force it to be on Mendoza, and I want to credit somebody on TikTok. I can't remember their name. If they're watching, huge shout out to you, because I didn't even realize this. If they can make it be on Mendoza's shoulders, they have a shot, because, listen, the 4 defenses that Mendoza has faced, the best defenses he has faced, 5 touchdowns, 4 interceptions against Iowa, Oregon, Penn State, Ohio State. All the other games, 28 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. So, look, he's shown that, against the better defense. I mean, Ohio State, he didn't look that great. He didn't look amazing. Penn State, he didn't look that great. He did on the last, drive or so. So I do think on the defensive side of the things, that's how Alabama's going to have to win this game, because as Joseph mentioned here, Alabama can't run the ball through a wet paper sack, and they aren't beating an Indiana team being one-dimensional offense. I would agree with that. That's why I think this has got to come down to the defense. It's got to.
The only other good team that Indiana played is Illinois, and he threw 5 touchdowns, no picks in that game. But you're 100% right. I was going to actually bring that up too. I got a stats right here, and if they have to make him uncomfortable. He is very good head on his shoulders. He's very calm, very collective, and handles the pressure very well when things matter the most and the game's on the line. So what they really have to do, and I didn't watch all of those games, every single play, but I watched the last 2 drives against Penn State. They pressured him a lot during the game. They did not pressure him much that last drive until towards right at the end. So I think it's going to come down to who pressures the quarterback more, and because I don't see Alabama running the ball. They're going to have to put the game on Ty Simpson's shoulders. Indiana can pressure the quarterback pretty well, and we'll see if Bama can do the same to Mendoza. If they can, Bama's going to be in this game and they have a chance. If they can't, it could get a little uncomfortable for Alabama, somewhat early. And we'll see. I think why you're getting so much hate is it's people not believing Indiana can be as good as they are, similar to how people still didn't think Vandy was that good. Vandy was a pretty decent team this year. I don't think they were Indiana good, but they still were a historic doormat of the SEC, like Indiana is the Big Ten, and both of them are having a coming of age last couple of years all of a sudden. And I think that's what is hard for people to believe, and people still think Bama holds that Nick Saban mystique. Bama is a very good team, but they are not. Even Saban's last couple of years, they were not those, just slam your head in the ground, kick your ass type teams.
No, and that's what I've been preaching to Alabama fans. I love you guys. My best friend's an Alabama fan. I don't hate Bama like most Georgia fans. But y'all have got to come to grips with reality that you're just a normal, excuse my French, you're just a normal ass college football team like the rest of us. You can get your ass whooped just like the rest of us now. You're not the unstoppable force. Even Georgia with Kirby's not that. I mean, they can get their ass whooped. Yeah.
You're not going to see with the portal and NIL, you're never going to see another run like Nick Saban had from 2009 to 2020, I guess, was his last championship. You're never going to see another run like that. That was an outlier. I've said this many times on this show. That was an outlier. That is not normal.
I've said this many times. I don't know if I've said it on the show, but I've said it many times in the Nick Saban era. Look, Nick Saban was paid to win games at Alabama, and that's all that matters. But I do think he's done some of the most harm to the most harm to college football ever in terms of like setting these and it ain't just look, boosters, people, those boosters, they're just really rich people. They're just really rich fans. That's it. Like they're not, I mean, they're smart people, don't get me wrong, but they think just like us. They just have more money than us. And when people seen that run Nick Saban went on, it set this unrealistic. I firmly believe it's why we don't have the patience we have anymore. I firmly believe it's why I have fans coming into my live. If Indiana loses to Alabama, I swear the most common sentiment was Indiana's overrated. They sucked. They're trash. We told you. Like I think Nick Saban is the GOAT. I think Nick Saban will always be the GOAT. And I agree with Adam. I just think what he's done is it done a lot of harm to the overall sport as far as unrealistic expectations.
I also think college football fans, I mean, clearly are the most rational people ever, because, I mean, they never have outlandish expectations. They never can have anything, they're always very honest about their own team and their opponents and all of that, very, very rational people when it comes to their team and their rival.
Always. We don't have people that poison trees or anything like that in this country or in this conference. But all right, let's go to UG. Oh, wait. Who'd you pick? Indiana or Alabama?
I think I'm going Indiana as well.
Yeah, I'm going Indiana. Now I ain't gonna lie, your boy's rooting for Alabama, but I'm going for Indiana. I mean, going with Indiana. I think this is a good question before I dig into the Ole Miss UGA matchup. Last year, all 4 bye teams lost. Did UGA learn anything from it? I want to take this opportunity to mention We actually had talked about that on a show. I think it was me and Austin show. We talked ball. I want to push back a little bit on that because I thought the seeding was more to do with that than it by teams, because you had Boise State and Arizona State that had a seeding, and they were heavy underdogs. Now you did have UGA lose, who was not an underdog, and that layoff could have hurt them. I do think. I'll push back on the layoff for UGA because look, I mean, now Notre Dame had to deal with this too, so I'm not making excuses. But you had the terrorist attack in New Orleans, you had the layoff that happened with UGA, and then on top of that, you had Kirby Smart. I mean, his dad passed away while in New Orleans. He mentioned it today that he had to go to a funeral home in New Orleans and set arrangements up and all this stuff while trying to think about the Sugar Bowl. And again, I'm not making excuses. It's just there was a lot going on last year in New Orleans, and I don't know. Let's see what happens this year with the bye teams. I'll be curious though, Adam.
I think it was the seeds as well. You had the top 4 seeds, got the top 4 conference winners, got the top 4 seeds, which really screwed things up. I mean, if you look at it, a lot of teams that played in the first round also had just as much time off because Ohio State and Tennessee did not play in a conference championship game. So they went from their last game Thanksgiving weekend until that first round playoff game. It was only about a 2-day difference than what Oregon had from playing Penn State in the conference championship game, or Georgia had playing in the conference championship game until that game. Now, they did kind of have one tune-up before that next round, which we're getting ready to go into. But, you know, those first round games, some of those teams had extra time off because they didn't play in a conference championship game. Some of them didn't, and it didn't really match up there either. So I don't think the time off was as much of it. I think it was you had 2 really good matchups, and Ohio State and Oregon and Georgia and Notre Dame. The New Orleans game, as you talked about, was a little just it was unusual circumstances, and then Ohio State was just a buzzsaw. And then the other 2 games were pretty good games, and you know I think just a little bit different of scenarios.
Yeah. All right, let's dig into the matchup, man. I said this on TikTok. Guys, I'm sorry I say a lot. I'm trying to work on that too, by the way. I just noticed it. So UGA versus Ole Miss. The UGA defense improvement, is it legit, is the biggest curiosity for me as a UGA fan, as just a football fan. That's the biggest question to me, because the past 4 games, UGA's given up only 7.3 yards. I mean, the yards, that would be amazing. 7.3 points per game and a 33% success rate. They went from giving up 6.3 yards per drought back to only 4.9. Now, why that's the biggest thing to me is because they haven't necessarily played elite offenses in those last couple of games. Now, it wasn't bad. According to S&P Plus, they played the 25th, 38th, 29th, and 38th or 39th ranked offenses. So they're not bad, but not top 5 like Ole Miss. And so is that – my eyes tell me UGA's defense has improved tremendously from the last matchup. If my eyes are not deceiving me, and it wasn't just Georgia padding the stats against lesser offenses, if my eyes are not deceiving me, I do think Georgia has a shot to win this game and cover the spread of, I think it's 6.5 now. It was 7. I think, because the thing is, Ole Miss has not improved defensively in my eyes. Even against Tulane, they allowed like 400 yards. And Tulane's biggest issue was they just couldn't finish in the red zone. That was
Tulane moved the ball on them. Tulane
Yeah,
definitely moved the ball on them. You're right. They couldn't finish drives, got stuck to where they had to go for it on 4th downs because they couldn't kick field goals, because at that point you're down 17-3 or 14, whatever it was.
Yeah.
And they had an interception, but at that point they knew Ole Miss was going to score points. So it was, can we keep up with them? And you're not going to keep up with Ole Miss kicking field goals.
Yeah. Yeah, and I have not seen much improvement in Ole Miss and in stopping the run. You know, again, back to the Tulane game. the running back had 15 carries, 84 yards. Now, with them getting blown out, they had to pass a lot. So he could have had more than that. But that's not even just him. I mean, when they played Oklahoma had 9 carries for 109 yards. They were one running back, and they absolutely was horrible. Putting up yards don't win games. I don't care if you gain 500 points, win games. That is true.
That's true. Nobody said it did.
Yeah, nobody said different. Nobody said different. Nobody
Tulane, the yards were close at halftime. Tulane wasn't putting up a bunch of garbage time points or garbage time yards either. So I don't know if they can stop Georgia. Ole Miss was much better than Tulane. So was Georgia. So what are we going to do here when Ole Miss is playing a better team? I think it's going to be another high scoring game. And I think Georgia's just playing a little bit better right now. I don't think Ole Miss is going to be able to make enough stops.
I'll be honest. If it's another high-scoring game, I'm going to give the edge to Ole Miss. Because I will say while Georgia's defense stock has risen up, last 3 or 4 games, Georgia's offense has stunk it up. They beat Bama 28-7, but it wasn't, the greatest offensive showing in that game. They got a lot of short fields, some special team help, stuff like that. So their offense has kind of been trending down. And I've said to my buddy Austin on We Talk Ball, I said, if this is a shootout, I'm picking Ole Miss. I'm picking Ole Miss. I don't think Georgia can get in another shootout at this particular time. I personally am going Georgia because I don't think it'll be a shootout. I do think Georgia's defense has improved. I do think the eye test, I don't think it's lying to me. I think Georgia's improved. I don't think they're going to shut down Ole Miss. You're not going to shut down the offense that great.
No, that offense is too good.
Yeah, you're just not going to. But with Ole Miss, 67th in rushing success rate allowed and 77th in yards allowed per carry, if they can't stop the run, I think Georgia's going to, boa constrictor them. I think they're going to run the ball. I think they're going to slow the game down. I do think they're going to get those 2 to 3 extra stops. I could see something like 31. I'm horrible at score predictions. I could see something like a 31-20 type game if that happens. But if it's a shootout again, I'm nervous, and I don't think Georgia can do a shootout right now. Maybe I'm wrong. But yeah. So Joseph says, but we have to be able to run the ball this game. Yes, I would agree. I think absolutely. And I'll be honest, Lacey it looks like he's cleared to play, which is massive for Ole Miss.
It is. Yeah.
I'm assuming you are going, you said Georgia, right?
I'm going Georgia. I do think it's going to be a shootout. I think Georgia's going to get the lead, and then that's when they're going to start sitting on the ball and killing it in the fourth quarter. After the first 3.5 quarters have been a little bit of a shootout. So, and for folks watching the show, I'll be on the sidelines of the Sugar Bowl.
Yes.
And I'm the red hat assistant, TV timeout. So I'll be standing on the field with the clock during timeouts. And I have to run into the officials or the chain crew locker rooms. That's where my locker room is with them, and get my stuff out of there right after the game. But I plan on coming right back out to the field. I've been out there for the trophy presentation. Pretty much every year I've done this, except maybe last year because I had to work the next day and the game ended around 10:30. So I just went straight to my truck to beat traffic, but I don't have to work the next day this year. So I will be staying around as long as I can, and I'll be on Twitter, assuming I can get back out on the field in time. I'll be on Twitter and live streaming the trophy presentation if anybody wants to watch. And then my credential also gets me into the post-game press conferences, so I'm going to try to do the same thing in there if anybody wants to watch those.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Adam, for remembering that.
No guarantee on the press conferences. I'm very confident about being able to get out there for the trophy presentation, though.
Yes. Y'all go did you say your Twitter name?
CFB guy.
Yeah, go there, and I'll retweet it too from the college.
Right there.
Yeah, I'll tweet it too. Also, I'll retweet it from the College Crew channel and also from my X account. Y'all go pay attention to that. All right, we hit 45 minutes. We usually go an hour, but I think this is a good stopping point. Adam's going to do the outro like always, but I do want to take a moment to say something real quick before we let Adam close us out. I just want to take a moment because we're headed into the new year, 2026, to say how grateful I am as we head into this new year. First off, to my co-host Adam, brother, I couldn't do this show without you. The laughs we've had, the debate, the grinding we do. I appreciate you more than you will ever know, and I am thankful to have you riding with me on this journey. It's been awesome. It's been amazing. I consider Adam a very close friend, and to everyone who watches, listens, shares, comments, supports Sweet Tea in the SEC, thank you from the bottom of our hearts. It means so much. Y'all, the reason we keep doing this. Y'all, the reason we keep growing, and your support truly means everything to us. And most importantly, I'm not an emotional guy, so give me a minute. I want to thank my wife. Your love, patience, and support behind the scenes make all this possible. I wouldn't be here without you, and I'm just forever grateful to her. She's anyway, yeah, she's amazing, and without her support, I couldn't do this. So here's a new year filled with more SEC talk, bigger moments, and continued growth. We appreciate every single one of y'all. Let's make this year the best one yet, and I can't wait to see how much we grow in 2026. Adam, I'll let you close us out.
I don't really want to follow that up with too much. So hit on Joseph's last question about the fans there, and let me touch on that for a minute because I want to allow that to sink in a little bit for people, and give you a minute as well. The Georgia fans and the Ole Miss fans coming to the game. My thoughts on that. I have a feeling there'll be a larger Ole Miss fan base there because it will be the first playoff game somewhere other than home. Their first playoff game they've ever been in was this past year. And I feel like the teams that have played in a lot of the games before probably won't go as much because it's expensive. You got the flight, you got the game ticket, you got the hotel. They're probably not going to go until they get to the semifinals and championship game. And so I would expect it to be like 60-40 Ole Miss fans. And just strictly guessing. I was in downtown around the Superdome picking up my credential earlier today at the Sheridan Hotel, which is kind of the headquarters for the Sugar Bowl folks and where a lot of the press conferences are. It was really hard to tell. It's chilly here, so there's a lot of people wearing winter coats and stocking caps and stuff. And I don't know if Ole Miss fans and Georgia fans have a lot of winter gear that represents their schools, where the Big Ten and your northern ACC schools like Boston College and those schools will. So it was really hard to tell what kind of fans I was seeing around. So haven't been able to tell on that. That's just purely a guess. So Joseph, I appreciate the question. Also want to second what Chris said. Thank you guys. It's always a pleasure having you guys give this kind of feedback and these questions and all of that. And I really enjoy doing this show. I wouldn't be on board if it weren't for Chris. He brought me into this. So thank you very much, Chris, for that and all the work you do behind the scenes. I just show up and talk. It doesn't matter what I say. I just show up and talk. Chris is the one that makes it all look good. So
you're the talent. You're the talent.
So you can give us a follow on the Instagram page that we have for Sweet Tea in the SEC. It's sweettea_SEC. And for those that are longtime watchers of the show, I wear a different higher ed shirt every single game or every single show. Every single show. This week it's a Southeastern FCS school here, about an hour outside of New Orleans, and they went 9-4 this year. They're a member of the Southland Conference. They made the playoffs. They went 9-4. They lost to Illinois State in the first round of the FCS playoffs. So they got a pretty good program there. If you want to see your school on here, send me a shirt. I'll wear it. If you ever call me out for wearing the same school within the same season, I'll send you one of my podcasts. Sure, you got to call me out within 48 hours of it being live, though. So keep watching, seeing what shirt I'm going to wear. If you want to see your shirt on here, send it. Reach out to me on Twitter and send it here, and then I'll take it to Goodwill for you. If it's just an old junk shirt that you're going to get rid of anyway. So thank you guys. Hope everybody had great holidays, and it's going to be 2026 by the time we record this next week. So be safe. Have a great new year. We'll see you in 2026, and keep sipping that sweet tea and watching the SEC.